Hello and welcome to my latest video. In this video we're going to be going over the results for my Rotspot painting competition, but before we get into that I just want to thank Artis Opus because they agreed to sponsor the competition and all of the winners will be receiving prizes. So for this competition I decided to change the format to an open style competition, and that means that instead of the classic style where you only have like one gold, one silver and one bronze, there are just layers where you can get multiple gold or silver or bronze, so it's not just a case of there's only the top three will win anything, which makes it a little bit fairer because it means that there's, if things are of a similar sort of standard then they get the same trophy. The only thing that means is that it takes a lot more granularity with separating out the different models. The ones that you can see at the moment, these are from the standard category. If you're interested in seeing more of these models from different angles, all the photos are up on my website as well, so you'll be able to see the backs of the models. Where it was quite important that the whole of the model was painted for the competition. So I've separated the competition out into two categories as well. There is the standard and the masters category. Now this means that if you are someone that regularly enters competitions, maybe has won trophies and things before, then you really should be looking at the masters competition. And then standard, the requirements to enter are a little bit lower. Like, you don't really need to have done anything before. It can be your first competition if you want. Having said that, I was completely blown away by the quality of the entries in standard. And what you will actually find is, so when I show the winners at the end of this for the standard category, is that some of them will be missing. And the reason for that is because they got bumped up into masters. So if you see some of your favourite entries and they're not there in the top three, there's probably a good chance they've been moved up into masters. And I did this for a few of them. While judging this, I did have help from a professional painting friend. I can't say who it is, due to who they are and who they work for, but they are a very proficient painter, and I've had full confidence in their ability to judge the competition with me. So we spent a long time discussing every single model in the competition, and we were up past midnight, just going backwards and forwards on things, moving models around. So we were really very thorough. Like, as I said, each model was judged, and even if it wasn't one that placed, we still discussed it. So when it comes to giving feedback, I'll be able to provide feedback for every model if the person wants it. Of course, if you don't want it, you don't need to have any. But for this competition as well, I gave the option of two different models to paint. So you'll see a lot. So they're both Nurgle models, but in the previous competition that I did, the Bone Zone competition, which you can also see the results on my website and all the entries there, it was only one model, and it was like a skeleton from Age of Sigmar. And for this competition, because I didn't want to just stick to fantasy type models, I allowed a 40k model as well. So they were still limited. I did select specific models, so it was two specific models, but one is 40k and one is Age of Sigmar. So you had the option of going between the two. And indeed, some people I think actually use both models in the display. I think it's important to note as well that this isn't a Games Workshop competition. So although I'm using Games Workshop models, the way that this is judged will not be influenced by the Games Workshop IP. What that means is you can do something that's kind of really interesting or crazy, or different painting styles that would not be suitable for a Golden Demon competition. So I thought that would be interesting as well, just to have a bit more variety in what you see for the entries. While we've been going through the photos there, you've probably noticed there are quite a few Nurglings, and in some cases they're independent photos. Those are not being judged for the Rotspot competition. They're actually for a competition being run by my wife that is purely focused on Nurglings, and the results for those will be given out later. But to start with now, we're going to do the winners from the standard category, the bronze winners. And remember, this is an open style competition, so there will be multiple winners in this category, and these are all the bronze level award. We had a very difficult time judging just because of the quality of the entrance, and remember as well that There's a variety of techniques and styles that you can go for. You didn't have to do anything that's like a Games Workshop style painted model. Also, I didn't put any restrictions on things like dioramas or converting, so you could have a lot of fun with the model and make it unique. So you can see, like on the screen there, people were very free to, create backdrops or convert models and do whatever they wanted with them, just as long as they used those base models in the competition. And I think you can see, remember, this is a standard category, not the Masters, and the quality is frankly fantastic. And now we move on to the silver winners from the standard category. The judging certainly didn't get any easier when it came to the standard silver winners. I think you can see from the photographs here that the quality of the artwork really shines through. There was so much going on in terms of atmosphere, ambience, creativity, and just really nice paintwork, and it really made our jobs difficult, but at the same time it was quite inspiring to see some of these pieces. And in many ways it's a shame that everything can't get gold, because the pieces really are of a very high standard, and I enjoyed every moment of it. Just finishing up here with the silver standard winners, and just by the way, I love the little octopus on the helmet of that piece. But now we have the standard category gold winners. So these displayed elements that were of an exceptional standard, and they could maybe consider even entering into the Masters category. I was just blown away by some of these pieces, and I think the entrants should be very proud of what they've created. So these are the end of the standard category results, and we're now moving on to the Masters. And just like we did with the standard category, we're going to show you all of the entries into the Masters category. However, remember when I was talking about the standard category at the beginning about the quality of some of the entries, and if you don't see some of your favourites in the results, it's because they've been moved up into Masters. So those won't appear in the entrance to start with, but they will appear into the awards, because the idea being that if they were moved into Masters, they would only be moved into Masters if they were going to get a trophy in this category. And even then, the gold winners in the standard category I feel were still quite competitive would have been competitive within the Masters category themselves. So here are the bronze winners from the Masters category, and straight away I think you can see the standard of the paint finish is clearly of a high standard. There is a little bit more in terms of non-metallics, with just how good the non-metallics look. Lots of nice details and different styles as well. But that's all for the bronze winners, and now we move on to the silver winners for the Masters category. Straight away the skill of the painters shows through in this category. I think it's very obvious. You can see mastery of brush control, of lighting, detail, blending. The atmosphere in some of the pieces is just fantastic. The attention to detail, and the interesting thing is that in two cases there, the models had actually been entered into the standard category, so they have been bumped up and they've actually achieved silver in Masters, which I think is quite impressive and really speaks to the fact that people are underestimating how good they are at painting. But now we're on to the gold winners in the Masters category. I say winners, but I should actually say winner, because there's only one model that has got through to the gold award, and it's also quite interesting because if you remember when I said at the beginning at standard, if your favourite model may not have appeared in the results, one of them would have been this one, because this was entered into the standard category and it's actually been chosen as the only gold winner for the Masters category. Now, I think you can tell looking at the photo, and I will say it's not the best photo compared to some of the other models, but even despite that, so you can see some of the background showing through a little bit. It doesn't look quite as professional as some of the other photos in the Masters category, but despite that, you can see the quality of the ambience, the atmosphere of this piece, how menacing this character looks. It feels so rotten. The base is suits the model perfectly. It's not an overly complex base, it's not trying to do too much, but it adds just enough so that it fits in perfectly with the whole feel of what's going on. The colours all work really nicely together. You look at the eyes, the impact of that face, and again the menacing feeling that comes from this piece just by looking at it. I think it really captures that sort of evil, rotten, kind of like horrible thing the model sort of suggests, because clearly, like, it's not in a very nice condition. Is like a very large person with, you know, his guts hanging out, and there's slime and rust and all sorts of gross things going on, and the way this has been painted, it really accentuates all of that. It's the atmosphere of the piece that has really elevated this model to be the thing that we've chosen as the gold winner in the Masters category. Now, there is also a best of show, and for best of show we don't necessarily pick the best piece from Masters, and indeed last year the piece that won best of show was from Standard, and that has kind of happened again this year, because even though it was entered into Standard category, it has now been selected, and we didn't actually have to debate too long on our selection for this, because both of us had looked through all the models before we started debating, and when it came to the best of show piece, we'd already individually selected this as our favourite entry from all of the models. And here it is. Not only has this model won the gold in the Masters category, but it has also won the best of show piece. And I think you can see from the results, it's not just a case of picking the model with the most perfect blends or the greatest amount of detail or any one specific element within the painting. In this model in particular, it really stood out from the others of being something that is greater than the sum of its parts, and that was the main reason for me, at least, that I wanted to select this as the best of show winner. So those are the end of the awards. I want to thank everyone again for entering. It's been an absolute pleasure judging these models. I find it really inspiring. I'm a big fan of Nurgle anyway, so this was a kind of a special treat for me to see all these different interpretations of how to paint Nurgle models. And if you want to see other photos of the models, like with different angles and all those kind of things, you can check in on my website, so there'll be a link in the description. Thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you next time.